I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. One of the things we've said here that you need to focus on in the Fulton County District Attorney's ongoing criminal investigation of Donald Trump are the potential RICO charges. These RICO, also referred to as racketeering charges, that would allow Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to essentially try Donald Trump for a common plan and scheme of some of the other individuals who aided and abetted election interference into the 2020 election in Georgia. And there is a proxy battle taking place right now that really demonstrates that this RICO charge is what is a major focus. The motions themselves don't refer to it, but as I explained to you, the legal skirmish that is taking place, I think you will see why this is top of mind in Fulton County, Georgia right now. And one of the key filings that demonstrate this is being reported by the local press out in Georgia, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but not really getting other attention outside of that. And that is a motion filed by one of the fake electors named Cathy Latham. In addition to being one of the 16 fake electors who falsely certified her name on the election certification that fabricated and falsely claimed that Trump won Georgia when Biden won Georgia, Cathy Latham is a retired school teacher, but what was she also involved in? Well, she is the chair of the Coffee County Republican Party in Georgia. That's the title she held in 2020 and 2021. And one of the things that she did is she was the person who allowed in those technicians that were kind of brought in by Sidney Powell to steal the election data from the local Coffee County election office. It's supposed to be a very secure office building where election data is not to be tampered with. But on January 7th of 2021, also happened some other dates in January, but a day after the insurrection, in surveillance footage that was revealed thereafter, you can actually see Cathy Latham, the chair of the Republican Coffee County GOP, letting in these technicians from a group called Sullivan Strickler. And this group of technicians was part of the plan by Sidney Powell and these other conspiracy theorists associated with Donald Trump, who were working in coordination as part of a common plan and scheme to basically steal election data from local election offices, eventually manipulate and tamper with it to try to find votes that didn't exist, and then claim that Trump won by the margin that Trump ultimately lost. When Trump was saying, "Find me the votes," it wasn't hyperbole. He was actually trying to have people fabricate and find him votes. And here you can see on these surveillance photos, that's Cathy Latham in these photographs from the surveillance footage. She's letting technicians in on January 7th. These technicians show up. They steal the election data from the Coffee County offices. They take it, and then they try to manipulate it and claim that voting data exists that actually didn't exist. That was part of their plan. Well, Cathy Latham just filed a motion, and in her motion, she is now joining with Donald Trump to try to quash the special purpose grand jury's report and to try to disqualify Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, from further pursuing her criminal investigation and the Fulton County District Attorney's office criminal investigation. Now, if Donald Trump is trying to avoid a demonstration that there is a common plan and scheme, I'm not sure that his lawyers actually would have wanted Kathy Latham, the individual who essentially broke in. I mean, she has pull as the head of the GOP in Coffee County, but essentially stealing the election data was what took place there. I'm not sure it's great optics if you're trying to avoid a RICO and racketeering charge for Kathy Latham to join you in a motion that you filed, but you may remember back on March 20th of this year, Donald Trump and his lawyers filed a motion to quash and a motion to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney from further investigating Donald Trump and from potentially prosecuting Donald Trump before indictments were even made. You remember this motion? The motion was referred to as Motion to Quash the Special Purpose Grand Jury Report to preclude the use of any evidence derived therefrom and to recuse the Fulton County District Attorney's office. I mean, how guilty do you look when you're trying to quash the results of a report that's still under seal? The special purpose grand jury, which met for approximately 8 months, they prepared a report. The report is still redacted, and Donald Trump and his lawyers were so scared that back on March 20th of 2023, they filed a motion to quash something where they don't even know what it says. Now, we certainly speculate that of the dozens of indictments that are recommended, and we believe there to be dozens of indictments based on statements made on background and some not made on background to the press by individuals who served on the special purpose grand jury. And of these dozens of indictments, we believe them to be the fake electors and an indictment recommendation of Donald Trump, but it's just a recommendation. That recommendation then has to go to a grand jury, which will be meeting likely this month, and then the grand jury takes that evidence and other evidence, and the grand jury ultimately makes the charging decisions and votes whether or not to indict or not to indict. The same way in Manhattan, the grand jury voted, right? In Fulton County, if you go through a special purpose grand jury, it's a two-step process. Special purpose grand jury makes a report and recommendations. That report and recommendations gets handed over to an actual grand jury. That grand jury meets. It's going to be meeting likely in May. That grand jury can review the report. They don't have to review the report. They could take in their own additional evidence, and then they can make their decision to vote to indict or to not indict. But that's what Donald Trump wants to quash. The report that he doesn't even know what it says before it even goes to the actual grand jury.
Let's take a quick break to talk about our next partner, ZBiotics. Now, if you're like me, you've probably skipped a workout because of drinks the night before. Like, it happens. But if you're committed to your healthy routine, you need ZBiotics. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Just remember to drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Now, I can't lie, after we hit 1 million subscribers, I may have partied a little bit too much that night. But luckily, I knew I had ZBiotics. Now, as instructed, I drank a bottle of ZBiotics before any alcohol, and I was amazed at just how good I felt the next day. Give ZBiotics a try for yourself. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode.
And now Kathy Latham, and I'll explain how this all relates to RICO. Kathy Latham filed on April 28th a joinder motion, a motion joining Donald Trump's motion to quash, to enjoin the production or use of the special purpose grand jury report and any evidence derived from the special purpose grand jury, and to disqualify the Fulton District Grand Jury's office. and to disqualify the office. And so Judge Robert McBurney, the judge presiding over all of these proceedings in Fulton County Superior Court with the special purpose grand jury, because this joinder motion was filed by Kathy Latham, has now given an extension of 15 days for Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to respond to Donald Trump's motion to quash, as well as Kathy Latham's motion to quash. So a 15-day extension. Otherwise, that would have been due on May 1st. But now Fani Willis has until May 15th. But see, I think this backfired big time, in everything. All these motions by Donald Trump have been backfiring big time because now that Kathy Latham has joined Donald Trump's motion, it kind of demonstrates the RICO. It kind of demonstrates the common plan and scheme. And Fani Willis in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office now has an extra 2 weeks to respond. They were going to have to respond on Monday, May 1st. Now they have an extra 15 days to respond. And guess what they're probably going to say? Judge, not only are these motions completely frivolous, but look at who's joining Donald Trump. Look at the common plan and scheme. Kathy Latham, who was basically working in concert as part of a common plan and scheme with Sidney Powell on behalf of Donald Trump, went into the Coffee County election offices where she's the chair of the GOP with technicians hired through the Trump campaign to extract private data that didn't belong to them, to use and manipulate to try to overthrow the results of the election. And guess what? Common plan and scheme. Kathy Latham, Sidney Powell, Donald Trump charged Trump with the common plan and scheme of Kathy Latham. And it's obvious why Kathy Latham's joining the motion, because she knows the RICO. She's a part of it. She's a part of the racketeering scheme. So that's what's taking place right there. And then you should go to some of the other reporting that we've done here, where you have Fani Willis stating that some of the fake electors are now turning on each other, right? These fake electors who submitted their names falsely to claim Trump won when Biden won in Georgia and signed false certifications of the electoral votes in Georgia, and it happened to other states, but we're talking about the 16 fake electors in Georgia. From prior filings, we know, and Fani Willis wrote this to the judge, that now these fake electors are pointing fingers at each other. So I'm pretty convinced that you probably have some fake electors saying, look, it's Kathy Latham's fault. And others saying, no, it's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. We initially thought, that we would probably see the indictment of Donald Trump and a bunch of these other individuals in Georgia in Trump's orbit somewhere in that June 2023 period. It's now gotten moved back. And in her own words, in a letter that she wrote to the Fulton County Sheriff Department, Fani Willis says, expect indictments between July 11th and September 1st. And the reason it's been moved back is because of the cooperation of certain people who weren't cooperating when the special purpose grand jury met for 8 months. So this new information will now go before the grand jury. And this new information is people pointing fingers at each other. These fake electors saying, no, we're happy to talk. We don't want to be criminally indicted. It's this person or it's that person. But again, a big backfire again on this motion, yet another motion backfiring where Kathy Latham is now joining Trump. Trump's like, really? I'm trying to keep my distance from you people, even though you were involved in the common plan and scheme. And then the judge is like, hey, extension of time now for Fani Willis to file. And then Fani Willis is going to come back and file. See, this is the RICO. By the way, I think there is a very, very little chance at all to preserve the ability to just give anything as possible. But Judge McBurney is going to reject Donald Trump's motion. What's the motion? The motion to quash a special purpose grand jury's recommendations? I mean, on what basis? On what basis? I mean, it's entirely frivolous. It's entirely frivolous. But you know what? Let them keep filing motions that backfire. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers by the summer. Help us get there. It's free to subscribe. Hit subscribe. Check us out as well wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast and check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We got a lot of great content on our Patreon. Most importantly, it helps grow this platform. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.